Good day, and I am still Anna Nolte, and you are at the last CTG to interpret before you get to your final test of interpretation of CTGs. And again, it works like all the previous ones, where you had to interpret the CTG before you come to this lesson, and here I will just interpret it for you and show you how to classify this and how to manage this. Again, this was the CTG that you had in front of you that you were supposed to interpret. So let's look at it in more detail. Okay, so if we do again what we have done on all the previous ones, draw a line through the average heart rate of the fetal heart rate to see what the normal fetal heart rate is. Then you see here is 120 beats per minute, there's 160 beats per minute, so here's 140 beats per minute, and we can see that we can draw a line here through the 140 beats per minute. So in this case, the fetal heart rate was 140 beats per minute, which is a normal baseline. If we look at the variability, again, like we've done previously, we draw a line at the bottom of the fetal heart rate variability, if I can call it like that, and a line on top of it, and we see how much the fetal heart rate varies. Now, one such, if this is 120 and this is 140 and this is 160, so this two of these lines would be 10 beats per minute, and then two lines, so it's 120, 130, no, sorry, it's 120, so two lines will be 10, so that will be 130 there, and then 140 there. So two of these lines is 10 beats per minute, so we see that this fetal heart rate varies more or less between the two lines, so it varies around 5 to 10 beats per minute, which we know is normal. So we're happy with that. We don't see any accelerations here, but we definitely see decelerations. And if we look at the different things that we're supposed to look at the deceleration, when we see decelerations, if we look at the relationship of these decelerations to the contractions, and we draw a line from the peak of the deceleration to the peak of the contraction, then we see that all these decelerations fell after the contraction, which obviously makes them late decelerations. And then with every single contraction on this little part of the CTG, there is a deceleration. With every contraction, there is a deceleration. Now, we also need to see how much the fetal heart rate decelerates. Now, we have said this is 120 beats per minute, more or less here. That's 140. So it decelerates from 140 to 120 beats per minute. So the deceleration is about 20 beats per minute. If we look at how long the deceleration is, we also see that this graph has gone at 1 centimeter per minute. So 1 centimeter is a minute. And here we see about, if we just look even from this darker line to there would be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So this deceleration is almost 3 minutes long. This one I think would be more or less 2 minutes long. This one, if we look from that thick line to that thick line to that thick line, it's also about 2 minutes long. So the deceleration is about 2 minutes long, and we can see that this one took quite a while before it recovered to normal. This one is a little bit better, but this one also took quite a while before it recovered to the normal baseline. So, and in total, we say then that there are decelerations, and I say these are definitely late decelerations, which we will come to just now. If we look at the frequency of the contractions, also again between the two rows of numbers here, there's 1, 2 contractions more or less per 10 minutes. Almost not 100% 2. There's a little one, one before this row of numbers, and then another one here, and then another one after the row of numbers. So it's more or less 2 contractions in 10 minutes. So if we look at the classification, the FIGO classification, the FIGO guidelines, we see that the baseline was normal. It's 110 to 160 beats per minute. We see that the variability was normal because it fell between 5 and 25 beats per minute. But then when we come to the decelerations, we see that it's pathological if there's repetitive decelerations, late or prolonged. In this case, it was late, and prolonged is more than 3 minutes, so it's not really 100% prolonged. But if it's repetitive for more than 30 minutes, or 20 minutes if there's reduced variability as well. Now, our graph is not 30 minutes long. Our graph is about 20 minutes long. So it's difficult to really say, but I think one can assume, just say for hypothetical reasons, that our graph is longer than 30 minutes. Then we sit with this repetitive late decelerations, which makes our graph pathological. And the interpretation is then that there's a high probability of hypoxia and acidosis, and we need to immediately start with resuscitation of the fetus. If we look at the NICE guidelines, again, the baseline is normal because it fell in the 100 to 160 beats per minute category. The variability is normal because it's 5 or more. But when we look at our decelerations, we see that it falls here in the non-reassuring column because it says there are late decelerations present for also up to 30 minutes, and it's occurring with over 50% of the contractions. And we've seen that in all our graph, it was with every contraction. But it also falls here in the abnormal column, where we have late decelerations that's present for over 30 minutes, and it do not improve with if we conservative measures would be the resuscitation measures, and it's occurring for with 50% of the contractions. So in the case of the NICE guidelines, they first of all make late decelerations non-reassuring. Then one's supposed to start with resuscitation, and the moment that we start with resuscitation and there's an improvement in the condition, then obviously it stays non-reassuring or it goes even to normal. But if it stays, the late decelerations do not improve with resuscitation, then it becomes abnormal, and obviously labor needs to be expedited. Now, if we look at what type of hypoxia, this is gradually evolving. Usually in the case of late decelerations, it's gradually evolving. It starts slowly, and over a period of time, the hypoxia develops, and we get eventually the late decelerations with more than 50% of the contractions. And it's not purely observational management is not appropriate now. We need to do much more than just to observe. We need to do active resuscitation. And we have talked on the previous slides all about the management of the pathological trace. We need to, it's according to the FIGO guidelines, we have said that it's pathological and we need to resuscitate. And if the fetal heart rate tracing is not improving, then obviously labor should be expedited. And the management, we have talked many times about now already, perform a vaginal examination to exclude a cord prolapse, and then all the other management measures is to increase the blood flow to the uterus and to increase the oxygen to the uterus by positioning the mother, by giving oxygen, by giving intravenous fluid, by stopping the prostaglandins or the oxytocin and to give tocolysis to stop the contractions, to improve all of that, to improve the blood flow and the oxygen to the fetus, and explain the condition to the mother. And that brings us to the end of your interpretations of the CTG. I hope that by this time you know CTGs now from front to back. Go well.